Hi everyone, I'm Bryn Brown, and I am talking about business finances for spiritual entrepreneurs. Why the heck are we talking about finances today? Okay, so here's the deal. Most of the time, and this was true for me as well. Most of the time when I meet spiritual entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs who are in some sort of helping or healing industry, that you don't have to be necessarily spiritual, but really you have some sort of helping business. What happens is that oftentimes you fall into it, and there's a lot of focus on learning your craft and really honing your craft. Yet the business side gets put aside, right? So oftentimes, again, if you accidentally become an entrepreneur because you love doing this thing and then now you have a business, or you intended to be an entrepreneur, but you get all the training in your craft, there isn't a lot of business training out there. Now, there's occasionally, I meet the rare unicorn that has some sort of like an MBA or has gone to school for business and it's been helpful. But even what they're teaching in school for business isn't necessarily practical. So then you come out and it's like, well, how the heck do I run the business side of things, right? One of the biggest mistakes that I see entrepreneurs make is, not having a financial plan or not really knowing how to run their finances. What I want you to know first and foremost, especially if you're just starting out or you're a few years in, or you're making really under, 5,000-7,000 a month, if you're making less than that, you can do a lot on your own. Okay. So even if you're in that 3 to 5 range, and usually once people hit about, 40, 50, $60,000 a year, we really want to start seeing you outsource some of the accounting. But for the most part, you guys can do that in-house. And I really recommend that you learn how to run your finances first before outsourcing it, okay? Or at least have a really solid relationship with that person so that you know what's going on in your finances, okay? So let's just assume that we're all learning what's going on in our finances and what kind of plan we need to have. So I want to talk to you a little bit about sort of the reason behind this. First and foremost, it is energetic. You guys, what we focus on grows. You know that. I know you know that, okay? So what we focus on grows. So if we're hiding from our money, if we're hiding from our finances, if we don't want to look at what we're spending and we don't want to look at what we're making because those numbers aren't something that we want to see, then we're really doing a disservice to ourselves, okay? You really are going to hinder yourself and your money-making ability if you're not looking at your finances to begin with. So I encourage you to get into a habit of looking at your numbers and updating them at a minimum once a month, but ideally when you're starting out twice a month. So every 2 weeks, just like you'd receive a paycheck when you're working for someone else, I want you in your finances running your expenses and running your profit. Now, I know a lot of times people are saying, well, if I'm not making a lot of money, I know I'm not making a lot of money. I don't need to go in there and look at it. The idea is really that we're bringing our attention to our finances so that we can create an intention for our finances. Okay, so if you want that number to go up, you better believe that there needs to be a healthy relationship with your financials, your numbers, right? So if we're constantly saying it's not enough, we're going to call in more not enough, right? So when we're not looking at things, I talk about it in terms of a garden analogy because I love to garden. I love to have my hands in the earth. And so the analogy is this: if you have a garden and you love on it and you talk to your plants and you water them and you fertilize the soil and you use compost and you really spend a lot of time nurturing your garden, you're going to bear a lot of fruits and vegetables, right? You're going to have a lot of herbs or a lot of flowers, whatever that you're looking for, whatever you're growing, right? You're going to have this abundant garden that's really thriving. If you don't give it any attention, one of two things are going to happen. So one, it's going to dry up and die, right? It's all just going to die and wither away. Two, the other option is that it just starts to get really out of control. And that's when you get all the creepy crawlies and the things that you don't want in there. And then it becomes so scary or so overwhelming that you don't want to go in there to begin with. So we begin to procrastinate or we begin to hide from that garden, right? Your finances are exactly the same, you guys. So if you have a plan and you have your attention on your finances and you're giving it love and you're nourishing it, you are going to start to see a shift in your finances in a very good direction. So first and foremost, I want you to know that you need to have your eyes on your numbers. So whether you're outsourcing that or not, right? You can do it in-house. You don't need an accounting degree to do your own business finances. A simple profit and loss spreadsheet, right? Where you have one box of how much money came in during that month and how much money you spent. You're going to be in much better shape, energetically speaking, but also you're going to know where you're leaking money, right? Where we're spending money where you maybe don't need to be, so you can keep your expenses tight and clean. And then we can start to love on your revenue that's coming in and make more money. The other thing that I see happen quite often is that people don't know what to do about taxes. Now, I live in the United States. It's a very complicated system, unfortunately. I can't speak to other countries, but I know that in the United States it's complicated and they don't make it very easy to understand. So I do recommend that you find someone that you can work with to help you as an entrepreneur with your taxes. But at a minimum, I also know that you need to be setting aside tax money every single month just to make sure you don't get yourself in a bind. So that's my second recommendation for you today. One is definitely know what's going on in your finances, have a regular eye on it, give it your attention once or twice a month to make sure everything's cleaned up and tight. And then number two, you definitely want to be saving every month for taxes, a portion, at least a portion. And oftentimes what I recommend is taking a percentage. So anywhere between 10 and 30%. It's so dependent on how much money you're making. It's so dependent on your unique situation that I'm not a professional. I can't say exactly how much you need to save, but I find it oftentimes falls within that range. And you're going to want to talk to a tax professional to get your exact number or your exact percentage. And it will change as a percentage of your income as you make more money. But you need to set something aside. I know some entrepreneurs who just set a fixed amount aside every month and then they reevaluate quarterly or annually with their tax professional to maybe estimate what they think they're going to need to save or have saved for taxes. This is going to keep you from stressing out at the end of the year or the start of the next year when you're now doing your taxes and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to owe the IRS, or oh my gosh, I'm going to owe my government. So definitely get a handle on how much you need to be saving every month and make it a habit. And I like to just take that off the top. Okay. So if you're keeping an eye on your finances and you make that part of your expenses, then you know you have this certain amount every single month that you can set aside for taxes. And I promise you guys, it is such a peace of mind habit to build. You won't want to go without that. Also, at the end of the year, when you save for your taxes, if you save too much, you get to bonus that money back to yourself. So that's a really fun thing to do. So just know that it also serves as sort of a passive savings account if you oversave. So that's always fun. The resource that I recommend, that I'm going to recommend for you guys today, is Profit First. It's a book by Mike Michalowicz. It's pretty intensive, and if you're not a numbers person, it can feel like a lot. I recommend that you read or listen to just the first half or so to get a good grip. This is the framework for what I teach all my clients in all of my programs, and we look at those percentages in terms of how much to pay yourself and how much to pay for save for taxes, very similar to what he teaches in that book. So I definitely recommend that book. I'll link it on Amazon. It's not an affiliate link or anything. I'll just drop that in the description here so that you have that and you can snag that book. It's an amazing resource to have, and I highly recommend it. If you feel generally just overwhelmed about numbers, money, your business, finances, I do recommend that you come to my webinar next week. I'm running a masterclass next Tuesday. It's the 3 reasons that spiritual entrepreneurs aren't making the money or the impact that they really want to be, and then how to resolve it today. And I'm going to give you a big hint. One of those has to do with your money habits. So we're going to talk about how to build healthier money habits and how to mess with the mindset a little bit to work in your favor from an energetic and spiritual perspective. We're going to look at it from a human design perspective and also practical and tactical. You don't want to miss that. So I will also have that link in the comments as well, so you can get registered for that. Again, that's happening next Tuesday live at 12 p.m. Mountain Time. So I'm not going to be going live here inside the Facebook group because we will be on the masterclass. So I hope you can join me there. If you are watching replay or you're watching live and you're planning to join, just drop a yes in the comments. Let me know that you're going to be there. I cannot wait. You guys, if you've never been to a live class with me before, you're in for a treat because one, I always overgive. So you're going to get so much more out of that masterclass. And two, you're going to learn how you can work with me. So I have had very limited opportunities for the majority of this year, and I'm opening up some really affordable, cost-effective spaces in a brand new program. So you're going to hear about that first on that masterclass. So I want you to know there's a lot of good stuff in there. But even if you're not destined to work with me, that's okay. You're going to get a ton of value out of that class. So definitely register today. Don't wait, mark it off on your calendar because there is no replay. Okay, that's it for today, you guys. If you have questions about your finances, go ahead and drop them in the comments and I'll get them answered. I just love helping you, so please don't hesitate. And that's all we have for today. So have a wonderful afternoon, and I will see you all here in 2 weeks because next week is the masterclass. So hopefully you will be on that live. All right, see you all soon. Bye for now.